So the subject of your class for today is going to be what we call the body of culture, sedation or motivation. So this word sedation I'm grabbing from, and I'm going to teach an advanced class. What grades do we have in the room? Junior, seniors? Any seniors? Any underclassmen in the room? 9th, 10th? 8th graders as well? Great. Okay, so it's going to be kind of an advanced class. So if I say something that you're like, sis, I was with you until you said that, then you lost me, please, my name is Sister Iasia. You can call me Sister I. Just stop me, and I'll stop. So we're going to start with this concept right here. When you're talking about sedation, you're talking about the root of the word sedative. So when you think about a sedative, this is the state. We're all in a different state every single day, all day long, all throughout the day. So you're either going to be experiencing a state of sedation where you could either be experiencing anything from laziness to feeling lethargic, meaning you're feeling like you just can't produce the energy to do what it is that you want to do and how you want to do it. So I'm going to challenge with the body of culture, are we being put to sleep by our culture, or are we being motivated and excited by our culture? That's going to be the thesis that I try to cover today. And all of you high school students, when we're talking about a thesis, what is it that we're talking about? It's the what? The main point or the overview or the main idea, right? So I want you to think about that today, and I want you to challenge yourself in the state that you're in right now. Not only because it's a Saturday early afternoon, but 9 times out of 10 you're either here or you're here. The energy is either extremely high, you're extremely motivated, you're extremely excited about life and what it is that you're doing, or you're just feeling like, I don't know. So let's talk about why that is. Let's go to bullet point number 1, and I'm going to have you write this down so that they can write it down too. Let's define what the body of culture is first. But I'm not going to give you the definition of the body of culture in terms of it having a body in and of itself. Let's talk about your own body first. Can we do that? So let's go to, so write down at the top, the body of culture. Let's talk about your own body first, beginning with your own head now. And let's say that the working definition of culture that we have today is going to be a way of life, right? So put that in your notes, that we'll give it the most basic and general definition, that a culture is a way of life, right? And oftentimes it will include values or customs or traditions or rituals and things of that nature. You know what it looks like in your life. I know what it looks like in my life. But let's talk about the body of it first, within your physical body, beginning with the head. So write that down. I want you to think about your own head right now, which is the highest part of your body. When you are making a contribution to culture or a way of life, the head is one of the first things that you're bringing to a culture. Please write that down and please remember that. When I'm thinking about culture, I'm bringing the highest part of my body forward, right? Because this is where we see with the 2 physical eyes. This is where we interpret through our mind, or what some people refer to as your consciousness. This is where you experience the scent of things through your nose and the sense of smell. This is where you articulate through your mouth. And most importantly, this is where you hear. So when you put yourself directly into the body of culture, in and of itself, you're bringing forward the highest part of your body, which is your head. So think for a moment about the things that you take in with the eyes, the ears, the nose, and even the things that you say and speak out of your own mouth. We're not going to put a big question mark right here, because we don't have to make culture confusing. Sometimes people think because one person may have some locks, or one person may have a head wrap on, or some cultural jewelry, that there's a separation between you and that person. I'm going to argue today that when we take it here to who's asleep and who's awake and who's energized, there really is no difference. Or we can go directly to the arms. Think about it for a second. When you look at the body of culture, think about your own arms as a metaphor for the things that you embrace and you hold, which is also connected to the elbow, which is what gives you your flexibility, which is connected to the wrist, which is connected to the fingers, which is where you either get this gesture, which is where some of our warriors said that they connect here, or this gesture where you're able to lock in and hold other people, where you're able to embrace. So from the standpoint of the body of culture, we're looking at now at the head and the arms. And I'm going to ask asked you to think about the things that you embrace. What is it that you hold near? Because you're either in a state of being here, because you have enough energy and motivation to even hold your culture down, or you're here. Somebody may be like, you want to go to this cultural play, or do you want to go to this Kwanzaa program? And you'd be like, no, I'm cool. So you're either here with it when it comes to your own body, or you're here. So think about that for a second. Let's talk about the back now. When you talk about the body of culture and how it plays out in your own life, if it were not for the back, you would not be able to walk. You would be slithering or crawling. And any person that is identifying with the body of their own culture is a person that's able to be here like this. Me talking to you right now, I can't be like, yeah, so the body of your culture needs to look like this. I mean, that needs to be upright. I need to be confident. I need to be poised. And the majority of that is coming from the strength that I have here, which is why oftentimes people refer to what's called as the backbone. When you hear somebody say backbone, what are people talking about? Or who are people talking about in your families often? Or who else? Somebody else. Right. So when you give it a body now, think about the highest part, think about what you embrace, think about the centering. Just like the Congo in Africa is the central part of Africa, so it is like the heart of Africa. It's like the middle. So this right here is where you're dealing with the centering of yourself. So that's why it's really good to always be upright. Not just because you're an athlete or because you're a dancer, but because this is what holds everything together. And lastly, when you look at the body of culture, let's go to the legs now and the feet. Put that down. When you look at how motivated you are or your level of energy when you're connecting with culture, this is going to determine where you go and why you go where you go. Right? This is the ability to move. This is what gives culture locations in different places. And in the tradition of African people, that's what we did. We moved. We went from place to place to place. Sometimes we had different traveling mechanisms, but we were heavily and highly dependent on the body to be able to manifest our culture in the first place. I'm going to be silent for 30 seconds, and I want you to think about that. Because I'm arguing now that when you give culture a body, it becomes you. It is not outside of you. It is you. Did you have anything you want to say to that before I move on?
Yes, I do. Some of you guys might not like what I have to say, but I'm hoping that it will wake you up to